Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Storage Warrior. Well, the last video I made showed some Dungeons and Dragons stuff that I got out of a unit that cost $10. And this video shows the rest of that unit. And what happened was the pictures on the internet only showed about half of the unit, and it really didn't look like it was going to be very good. But when I got into it, it turned out very well. This is the one I'm going to try and get. Maybe some more boxes, trash bags, a little bit of volume. So let's see if we can get it for $10. 4, 3, 2, 1. Got it. So, clothing. Here's the VHS movies. The Empire Strikes Back. Homemade. More of these weird aluminum and books and clothing. Books. Just some kind of weird game about Napoleon. We can look in here a little bit better now. Books, backpack, books. Feels like more books. Oh boy. Alright, so we got one cartload of boxes. Now I'm gonna see if I can find anything in there that's not books or clothing. Get that out of here. Okay, so we just found the first thing that might be worth some money. This little blue organizer is full of these figures, and they have a mark on them. There's hundreds of them in there. This guy was kind of a nerd. He had kept his old floppy drives and probably played Dungeons and Dragons. So that's good. And here we are, back for the last load. This shouldn't take long at all. This is actually kind of a neat little cabinet. Backpacks. Just a couple more bags. And you guessed it. More books. And the issue here was the pictures on Storage Treasures only showed half of the unit. The side that looked empty. And there was a whole other 5 by 10 feet stacked 3-4 feet deep. And ordinarily that's a good thing when you get more than you thought you would. A nice empty garage. Let's fill it up full of junk. There is the first load. Vintage Faberware. I'm seeing a few items that have some value. This box is just loaded with these figures
this? This is Battle Tech. Some kind of figure. I looked that up on eBay. Some of these might be worth 20, 30 bucks. You have to look them up one by one. Here is some old Apple stuff. I don't know, but I think in the bottom there might be a computer. It's a floppy drive, speaker. Come on, what is it? No, it's not a computer. It's just a backup power supply. This old Apple stuff might be worth some money. Don't know. Gollum from Lord of the Rings. And this floppy drives. And there's one here full of old Super 8 movies. Oh, these are games. New in the box. 10 of those. So let's take a look at some of the better quality stuff that came out of this other than the gaming. There's some abalone shells. It's worth about $5 each. Here, incongruously, is a whole box full of Levi's. There's 9 pairs of those. That's $8 a piece. So call that another 100 with the abalone shells. A whole bunch of this old software on floppy disks. I think I'm just going to hold off on that until I look at those a little more carefully. I have no way to test any of that, but some of that might be worth some money, and it's easy to get into the mindset that everything is trash and you just want to sell it off as cheap as you can as quickly as possible. There's a heater. The clock does not work. A couple of yearbooks. So I'm going to hold off on that. I think I'm just going to load some books and this run-of-the-mill stuff and some of the gaming stuff and try to get back a couple $100 at the flea market. How you doing? Okay, so this is the first attempt to sell this stuff. I sold a Primus stove for $13 and a TV for $13. Alright, here we are getting towards the end. So it cost $35 to sell here. Sold $340, so we made a solid $300 today. Dead of money. And I'm selling these books blind, meaning I haven't checked which ones are rare and valuable, but these are mass market paperbacks. They made 10 million of them. Some of them will sell on eBay for 10 bucks maybe, but I'm not going to do all that work to make $5. I did sell maybe 50, 60 books. I sold a couple of these Apple keyboards and other things for 10 each. Sold some Levi's for 8 each. And sold the cabinet for 40. I did sell some vintage software games on floppy disks without checking the price first, so that'll haunt me. I wrote down the name of one of them so I can go home and look it up, see what I just sold. I was not gonna sell that stuff until I checked it. Atomic Wasteland on 5 1/4 inch floppy disk. I sold all those BattleTech new in the box for 10 each. It's cheap, but you gotta sell the stuff. And there is Atomic Wasteland 2098, sold for $39.50. All right, here we are about a week later. Pretty good day at the old swap meet. And now I've had a chance to really go through the rest of this stuff. And 90% of that was books. But the other 10% was pretty awesome. And the pictures only showed about half of what was in there. And when I got into it and started digging through it, I found all these books, thousands of them, boxes, boxes, and boxes of books, which generally speaking is not a desirable find. However, when I got down towards the back and the bottom, all of this vintage gaming stuff started to appear. These old role-playing games, metal figures, old Dungeons and Dragons books, BattleTech, role-playing games, military games, and old games on 5 1/4 inch floppy disks. And in the end, this unit turned out to be amazing. So 3 of these for 100. None of these for 25. How many? Thank you very much. These books are $2. These are $1. Nobody's gonna pay $2 for a book. Sort of sacrilegious. Okay, here we are getting towards the end. So I sold $525 worth of stuff today. They're the money. It costs $50 to sell here. So we scratched $475 out of this. And $350 of that was this gaming stuff that went in the first hour to dealers. Maybe 30 cents on the dollar. This, none of it sold, almost none of it. Sold the Battletech for $100 for the lot. And the rest of it was $5 here, $10 there, $3, $1. Sold about $60 worth of books, maybe $75. And this is a pretty good spot, right here on the path to the outhouses. So these books sat here front and center all day long. Same with these games. Just no interest in them other than dealers. So I guess I'll have to just take what I can get. Some of this stuff can go in the trash. This old computer stuff, that's a power supply. The battery, it's gotta be bad. I don't know what's wrong with those Levi's. Nobody bought those last 4 pairs for $5. There must be something wrong with them. So the clothing, somebody picked out a bunch more games out of these that I didn't check. Bought them all for $75. This clothing is like vintage 80s from a computer nerd, and I did sell some of it. Just overall, not a really inspiring day. People were just not buying stuff today. All right, here we are 1 month after I purchased that $10 storage unit. And I have been to the swap meet 4 times. So here's a summary of the cost and the profit on this unit. The cost was $221. We sold $14.16 out of it, including $64 on eBay. Minus the cost brings us to a profit right now of $11.95. So if you're wondering where all that money came from, this is kind of a summary of the sales out of this unit. And this is over 4 trips to the flea market. So I kind of start the stuff out high, and then if it doesn't sell by the last time, I just get rid of it. So I sold that whole blue cabinet of figures to some guy for $120. And made $200 on books. That was only about 1/3 of the books that came out of this unit. Sold those Apple components for $10 each. That was from an Apple II computer. And finally I sold that whole box of military role-playing games to some guy for $50. So when you're making $100 a sale, this stuff starts to add up, and then the rest of it was just the power of volume. And we're not done yet. I still have some of the more rare items that I did not take to the flea market. The really rare and valuable stuff didn't ever make it out to the swap meet. So here's some maps from the Department of the Army about World War II. Nice gaming computer. Here's these photographic negatives, and there's 2 pictures in here of Franklin Roosevelt. So you'll see him in a minute. And I have started selling this stuff on eBay. Here's 15 more boxes of these books. I have not looked at these. Looks like kind of more of the same. I didn't know there was this much bad science fiction in the out there, but hopefully there's a Harry Potter first edition in there, maybe. And this is more of this really rare, valuable stuff. I got 10 boxes of these games, and I did sell some of these for $10 a box, but these seem to be some of the really rare ones. That one in particular. This huge collection of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm calculating that if I sold all this one by one on eBay, I'd make $1,000. Because the fantasy role-playing games are really hot right now. The military stuff, not so much, but these are on eBay. I sold one of them for $64. These are on eBay. Nobody's even looking at them. And here's 260 more of these metal figures. Fighting rabbits. These are the fantasy ones. And most of these are marked Raw Partha or custom cast from the 1970s. So I actually prefer selling stuff at the flea market. You don't get as much money, but it's quick, it's easy, it's kind of fun. You know, all my friends are out there sitting in front of a computer dealing with people on eBay and shipping stuff. Really isn't much fun. But if I do it, let's just say on the very low end, I'll make another 700 on this. And that brings the total profit, 700 to 800 future sales, to $18.95 or $19.95. So call it a $2,000 profit. Not bad for a $10 storage unit. If you buy these little small units, sooner or later you get lucky. Anyhow, that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching from Jens Tobias, and bye-bye.
Thank you.